Hey everyone, I'm Bailey, and I'm here today to talk to you about why you should go vegan for humans. Now, while many people think that vegans are just these animal freaks that only care about animals and don't care about humans, what most people don't realize is that veganism doesn't only positively impact the animals, the environment, and our individual health, but it can also be a matter of human rights. But before we get started, hit that big red subscribe button for all things vegan. First, slaughterhouse workers. Due to the coronavirus pandemic, it has been all over the news lately how terrible slaughterhouse workers are actually treated. How they've been sick, forced to work, not provided proper PPE, or paid leave. By nature of the job, workers are being forced in these cramped positions and getting sick with the coronavirus and dying as slaughterhouses are becoming the epicenter of the virus. However, before this pandemic even started, did you know that slaughterhouse work was considered an ultra-hazardous job? In 2016, BuzzFeed News revealed that on average, one Tyson employee a month is injured by equipment and loses a finger or a limb. Another study shows that 65% of slaughterhouse workers have been injured on the job. And that's just what was reported, as many workers who get injured don't report it for fear of retaliation. Workers are also putting their mental health in extreme risk. Having to kill sentient beings day in and day out that are crying and screaming out in pain has psychological effects as well. Work that Yale Global Health Review says puts workers at risk for psychological disorders and pathological sadism. Journals have even documented that slaughterhouse work can cause PTSD. This work has also been documented in feeding the aggression that has made areas around slaughterhouses higher up in domestic violence charges. Now you may be thinking, well, don't they choose to be there? Didn't they choose to work that job? But unfortunately, a lot of these workers are victims themselves, as many see it as no other choice but to work in a slaughterhouse, come from low-income neighborhoods, or undocumented and on a work visa program. Next, did you know that veganism could eradicate world hunger? While the World Health Organization estimates that around 1 in 9 people are affected by world hunger, factoring into over 3 million child deaths per year, we still take a third to half of edible harvests, feed them to livestock animals, and then kill those animals to feed wealthier individuals such as ourselves. We are actually using land in developing countries to grow food that we then transport to developed countries, give to the animals in developed countries, kill the animal, and then feed our wealthy. For instance, famines that could have ended continue because we are taking away their food. During the Ethiopian Famine of 1984, perfectly edible crops were taken away and sent to Europe to feed their livestock. During North Korea's 1997 severe shortage, 1,000 tons of maize was sold to Japan for poultry feed. And every day, world hunger continues because of our desire to eat meat and other animal products. Next, did you know that over 1 billion people suffer from polluted and dangerous water supplies? Being that only 2.5% of the world's water is fresh water, and we use about a third of that for animal agriculture, fighting this system for the sake of clean water and human rights is a no-brainer. In fact, the UNESCO Institute for Water Education estimates that the production of a meat-based diet uses about twice as much water than the production of a plant-based diet. So where does all this water go to in the production of a meat-based diet? To care for animals, run facilities, take care of sewage, and water the massive amount of crops that are used for livestock feed. On top of this, giant cesspools called lagoons are filled with animal urine, feces, blood, and other bodily fluids and then sprayed out onto fields so that they don't overflow. This ruins the breathing air in communities near slaughterhouses that complain of a stench that burns your eyes, your nose, your throat, and causes depression and fatigue. This environmental racism, as Senator Cory Booker calls it, many times affects Black and Brown communities, as more often than not, these facilities get placed near those communities. Next, fish trafficking. While human trafficking is a huge issue, you might not know that the commercial fishing industry is notorious for using forced labor to get seafood on your plate. In 2018, Human Rights Watch released a report detailing how widespread forced labor and human rights abuses are in Thailand. This is where migrant workers from nearby countries are trafficked, not paid on time or sufficient minimum wage, and are prevented from being able to change employers. And you may not think that this is happening in your country, but don't be fooled, as there have been media reports that detail labor abuses and modern slavery on American and British vessels. Also, even if your country doesn't have that many incidents of slavery, which, let's be honest, one incident is too many. Countries import massive amounts of seafood from other countries where slavery is prevalent, like Thailand, who's the fourth largest seafood exporter in the world. As you can see, animals aren't the only ones exploited for food. The process of procuring meat, dairy, and eggs is a human rights issue as well as an animal rights issue. From physically and mentally sick workers, to dangerous water and air quality, to modern-day slavery and starving children, there are many reasons to go vegan for humans.